All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live edition of From the Chair with Big Money Exchange. And graciously, our co-host, Big Money Dodge, took some time away from making his Pornhub or his OnlyFans page to indulge us in this interview. Um, I'm also joined by Marty Snow and our host, Mr. Nathan Noss, the wrestling encyclopedia. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, he is a wrestling encyclopedia and knows everything there is to know about the world of professional wrestling, including the indies. So, with that, Nathan, go ahead and take it away. Dodge, you better not be playing with pandas.
Well, welcome
I
everybody,
found her.
and Marty, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, for those who do not know me, my name is Marty Snow. I'm a wrestler based off in El Paso, Texas. I'm the leader of the Inglorious Bastards. I've been wrestling for 2 years. I am the youngest ever Delgado Promotions World Champion. I am a former PWL Lone Star Champion, and I've been trained by Aiden Colt, Tyler Breeze, and Sean Spears as well. And that's pretty much it. I've done a lot in my young career, but there's still a lot more things that I need to accomplish. But those are just a few of my accomplishments.
Very nice and very impressive.
Very.
So, Dodge, why don't you kick us off tonight?
Oh, you should have, you know.
And our first question is brought to you by
God,
Pandemonium.
here we go.
Here we go.
Sorry about this idiot driver over here. Sorry. So, good sir, first of all, keep up the great work. 2 years is a good accomplishment. Keep it up. I've been in for 8, so catch up. Anyways, not to brag. Let's see. Your toughest opponent in your career so far?
My toughest opponent, that's a really good question because I like to be pushed to my limits. Without a doubt, the 3 people that have pushed me to my limits have been Marty Skrull, Cosmo Orion, and Midas. 2 of them are with me in the Inglorious Bastards. That's what makes us the best team in El Paso because we know how to push each other. Cosmo specifically, our rivalry was the one that built Pro Wrestling Legacy. Everyone can talk about the pillars of El Paso. Everyone can talk about the pillars of Legacy. Truthfully, the only 2 pillars that matter were me and Cosmo. Without us, Legacy would have never been where they're at right now. Without us, we wouldn't have caught the eye of many businesses and industries or trying to work with us. But I would say that those 3 guys are the ones that have pushed me and have tested me the most in matches.
Very nice. Who were some of your wrestling heroes growing up?
Good question. So when I was growing up, the ones that I looked to the most were Edge and Bryan Danielson. Um, those 2 were like my first 2 ones that I looked up to, and I was like, yeah, these guys are cool. I want to do this. As I went on growing up, I found other people that I look up to for sure. There's Speedball Mike Bailey, complete fan of him, was always a fan of him for the longest time and always knew he was like this hidden gem. So I'm pretty glad that he's getting the recognition he deserves now. We have, when I kept looking up more wrestling, Nakamura was the one that caught my eye the most back in his New Japan days. So seeing him come to WWE, that was something that I was looking forward to. But specifically, just childhood, I would just say Edge and Bryan Danielson.
Very good choice.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Go ahead, Tony. Do you have a question for the young man?
Well, absolutely I do.
It's brought to you by... Never mind.
It's brought to you by the smell of money because I like big money's money.
Okay,
Your question, sir, is in honor of Big Money Dodge. your top 5 managers of all time.
Top 10 managers of all time. I would say the number one has to be Paul Heyman. I think whoever he's paired with, for the most part, it's just gold. Heyman's a very good guy, as well as like just everything that he says in the mic, you believe it. Um, just recently with his work with Roman, it's been great. I think every time that I get to listen to what he has to say, it's just phenomenal. So I would probably put Paul Heyman in there. Um, Paul Bearer is a pretty good manager for an Undertaker. Um, I would say it's a very specific case. I think Paul Bearer with anyone else would just kind of look weird. Maybe with Kane, it would work, right? But just his work with Undertaker was the thing I saw that was like, this is bold. Um, Next, I would probably put Miss Elizabeth. Just the whole fact that she did a great moment for WrestleMania. I think everyone can kind of look back to it, even if you weren't born during that time. You kind of know that moment. So Ms. Elizabeth has to, be given her flowers. How many do I have left? Two more. Two more.
Yeah, 2 more.
Man, who else can I put in there for top 5 managers?
Not to brag, but I'm just saying.
I see. Well, I would probably put as a newer version Don Callis.
Oh,
That guy is just knows how to generate heat. The guy knows how to make everyone hate him. Just recently in the Omega and Osprey match, he just had to show up, and everyone was screaming out, "Piece of shit!" And
Yep.
he didn't even say anything. He hadn't done anything yet, but people
it
just
popped.
hated him so much that I was like, "That's a good manager role, right there." And for the last spot, I don't know. I think you can make an argument for a lot of guys. I'll leave it to an open blank for anyone else. To me, 5 seems a lot. It seems like you have to put 5 in there. It's not really meant to be. I think if you could just give that 4, I think those are like the top that you need to look up to. The 5th one, it can just vary. I think you can move around each manager and it still works out. But to me, those 4 that I just mentioned are the ones that people should look up to and try to study if they're trying to become managers in wrestling.
That's a very good point.
You forgot Bobby the Brain Heenan.
See, I don't want to be a biased guy because, again, I wasn't really too much. I don't know too much of his work, right? So I could give that answer because I heard other people say it, but it would just be lying, right? Like I don't really know much of his work to be able to say, yeah, he's a great manager. Just from what I know, these are the 4 guys that I'm like, yeah, these are great managers. These are managers that should be able to study. So
makes sense.
And this question is brought to you by apples.
Like we're
I
in the
just
middle
want
of
to throw
Sesame
him
Street.
with one of them. Just
All right,
one.
go ahead, Dodge.
Okay, good sir. Have you ever wrestled in Southern California?
Southern California. Trying to remember. I remember I wrestled in California. I don't think it was the southern part. I don't remember the company either. Probably shouldn't say that if I ever want to get booked again. But I have horrible memory, so I just don't remember exactly what promotion it was at the time. I'm blanking out. But I have wrestled in California. I've wrestled in Arizona, and I've wrestled in Florida as well.
Nice. Go ahead, Nate.
Can you tell us what the first thing that came to your mind when you found out you were wrestling Marty Squirrel?
Yeah, that was an interesting kind of story. I was down training with Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze in their wrestling school, Flatbacks. And there had been rumblings that they wanted to bring in Marty Squirrel. And to me, it was like, oh, I think that would be cool for us. Just try to bring someone who has knowledge, help us out, as far as like learning how to do things correctly, any other questions that we might have. So I just thought about it like that, like, oh, cool, I'll be able to meet him in a seminar type um, place and setting. But then it was brought that they wanted to do a match, and I was being considered for it. And I kind of didn't give myself too much high hopes. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is something that definitely could help me out. Definitely has so many achievements that I wish to fulfill as well. Ring of Honor television champion, IWGP Junior Heavyweight champion. Um, so I was like, okay, if they go with me, then that's cool. I'll make sure to deliver the best match that I can. Um, so they finally came and they told me, yeah, it's official. It's going to be you and Squirrel. And at first, it really didn't hit me. It really didn't like sit with me like, oh, you're facing Marty Squirrel. To me, it was like, oh, okay, cool. This is fine. It wasn't until the day of the event that all the emotions started to come in. Like, man, I saw this guy when I was like a freshman in high school, and now I'm wrestling him for the first time in his debut in El Paso, Texas. So it was kind of like shocking in a way. Like I didn't know how to feel until the day of. But I definitely have a special place for that match specifically.
Nice. Tony Khan.
Okay, so what's the best advice? Oh, one of your trainers has given you, and do you still use that advice today?
Hmm. I would probably say that the best advice that I got. Oh man, I don't know if I can pick one because so like I said before, like my trainers, I see them in high regard. Aiden Cole, Tyler Breeze, Sean Spears, I have them in the pedestal almost. Obviously, I know that they're not gonna know everything about wrestling, but I listen to their opinions and to their critiques because at the end of the day, they've done it at a high level, right? So when I try to see what the best advice would be, is try to focus on not necessarily focus on, but they told me one time, the new can get old and the old can be new once again. And I think currently, right now, the wrestling landscape, everyone wants to do flippy stuff, everyone wants to take more risks, everyone wants to go viral, which is fine. If you want to do that, go ahead. But to me, I think if you really want to have a longevity in this business, you have to play it smart. Will I do certain moves? Of course I can. Will I want to do them every night? Probably not. But if I can get you invested by just what I'm saying, and I can get you invested by how much you hate me, and if that hate becomes in you buying a ticket, then why should I do any other moves to get your attention, right? So I think that's always in the back of my in my back of my head. A lot of people will pay to see you get your ass kicked. So that's something that I always keep in mind. Every time I do something, I think about that. Like, how do I get people to come here so that they can see me get my ass kicked or be disappointed and see me win, which most likely will happen.
And I'm glad you said uh, that things are new again because on Rampage this week, Sean Spears re-debuted the Perfect 10 character. So I'm anxious to see like what nuances he's gonna put on it now that he's in AEW to make it a little bit different, from the WWE version.
I don't necessarily know that. I'm happy that he's back in AEW. I know that he lost his mother just a couple of months ago, so I know that he went through a tough patch. But I'm happy to see him again in the ring. He's so good. He's so underrated. I don't think people give him the flowers he deserves, but I'm excited to see where he goes with this Perfect 10 variation in AEW.
My turn or Tony Khan's?
Nope, it's yours.
Okay. Best
Watch out for flying pandas.
Best wrestler turned actor. I took yours, Tony. So
Oh, and he's gone.
Nope.
He's back.
He's back. He's here.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You've been freezing in my side.
Oh, okay.
Best wrestler turned actor, my friend.
Probably say Dave Bautista. The Rock just plays himself. Most of the time, there's not really things that I've seen, but I would say Dave as of now. But I can definitely see Cena being the better actor eventually. His stuff in Peacemaker was great. I really enjoyed that show. But I think Dave just right now, I would say he's the better one. But I can definitely see Cena being better just given the time.
I like that answer.
Good actor.
So can you tell us how your group came to be? I mean, you guys are dominating like the pro wrestling legacy from the shows that I watched. So
yeah, so the Inglourious Bastards formed because at the beginning I saw talent being wasted in Midas and Super Flash, now Dr. X. I would see them and I would be like, these kids have a great future. These kids can be something more. Unfortunately, they were being fed lies by their families to stick to the lucha style, to believe in the lucha style. And quite honestly, I didn't agree with that. Lucha is impressive for sure, but realistically, how many famous luchadors can you actually name that are globally well known? Probably Rey Mysterio is the one that comes to mind. Are there others? Sure, but realistically, you can tell a non-wrestling fan Rey Mysterio, and they'll know who you're talking about. If you tell them someone else, they might know him, or they might just look at you like, "Oh, is that Rey Mysterio's son or something?" So to me, I was seeing that they were heading to a wrong direction. So I gave them an open door. Said, "Hey, how about instead of relying on your family legacy, you make your own legacy? You guys become bastards with me, and we dominate this place." And we did. We've added new members to them, right? We have Nolan Knight with us. We have Cosmo Ryan as well. We had to kick out Super Flash because he kept thinking that his family was going to help him. At the end of the day, that family doesn't really care. Their own golden boy, Cobarde, is the only one that matters in that family. The rest are frail. They're all injured. They're all not there. But Midas was smart. Midas is still with us. Nolan Knight, Cosmo Ryan, and now we're just dominating Legacy, dominating Delgado Promotions. Just let us go out to any other promotion, and within weeks, we will take over.
I believe that. They're a nasty group. For anybody that hasn't checked them out, I would recommend it.
Tony Khan.
Okay, so let's do your top 5 tag teams.
Top five tag teams for me would be Edge and Christian. Those guys are entertaining as hell. Again, might be a little bit biased because Edge was one of my favorites, but just seeing Edge and Christian together, they could be goofy, but you can take them serious at the same time. So I think that showed how much they had as a tag team. I will put FTR and the Young Bucks for different reasons. I think FTR is a good throwback for the old school type of tag team wrestling. You can definitely make the argument that they're one of the best tag teams in the whole world. But I also think that the Young Bucks elevated tag team wrestling when tag team wrestling really didn't mean anything. And if you're seeing it at that point of view, at least in my opinion, right? Which means that I'm clearly 100% right. The Young Bucks were able to do something that FTR didn't do. They made people care about tag team wrestling. FTR had the biggest company behind them, and maybe not through fault of their own, they weren't able to get that interest the Young Bucks did. Whether you like them or not, you can't debate that the Young Bucks made tag team wrestling feel important in a time that no one really saw tag team as important as it should be. But I'd put them up there. And the last two are tag teams that you would know, but if you're just in the WWE bubble, you don't really know much about them. So I'll put the Briscoe brothers just because of how good they were. Unfortunate passing of Jay Briscoe, but the Briscoe brothers were definitely a really good tag team. If you've never heard of them or you've never seen them, completely recommend trying to see the trilogy with FTR. I think that was a really good one. It's a good way to start off if you're not too familiar with them, but you remember who FTR is. And my last tag team, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit newer just because I think they will become one of the greatest tag teams. And I'll go for Aussie Open. I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've seen a bad match with them. I think I've enjoyed all their tag team matches. And I think definitely just given a little bit more time, they can be in the discussion for greatest tag team of all time.
Very nice.
Worst injury you've had in your career?
So that's interesting because technically speaking, I haven't had an injury involving wrestling, but I have been injured before starting wrestling. So before the pandemic hit, I was in a Taekwondo tournament. I tried to do, I don't even remember what type of kick I tried to do, but I landed wrong and my knee just gave out. I couldn't get up. I thought it was nothing. So, like a brave soldier, I got up again and I was like, "No, I'm good. Let me just walk around." I really couldn't put any pressure on it, but in my head, I was like, "I can still fight. I just won't use this leg. Just try to see what I can do." I think I just switched stance and I fell again, and I was like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work." So I had to forfeit that place, which was frustrating because it was already in the top three. So if I had won that, I would have gone, I guess, another guy to get the first place. So I got third place in that, but I felt more like a consolation prize of like, "Oh, it's okay, buddy. Like, you'll get him next time." But that took because I was so much better than the guy that I was facing. So him winning like that just it pissed me off. I wish I could have continued, but unfortunately didn't do that well. So as a very smart teenager, I didn't really get it checked. I kind of just laid down and said, "Oh, I'll just have to rest it. I probably stretched wrong or something like that." So I just didn't really check to see what was wrong with my knee. So I just let it there, right? I think a month and a half had passed, and I was like, I feel pretty good. I can run. I can, squat. I feel pretty good. I think I'm good. So I started training again in rugby. In high school, I did rugby. I was playing, and in one practice, I was coming in to block someone, and I didn't see the second guy coming, so I put all my pressure on my messed up knee already. So when the second guy came in ramming through, just I felt my knee come out and back in, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is not that's not supposed to feel like that." And it was the first time that I actually felt like, "Oh, I think I messed something up." And sure enough, I went back to the doctors, and they were like, "You have some liquid in your knee, and I have to take it off." They didn't put any anesthesia; they just kind of told me and just kind of like stabbed me in my knee to take out the liquid. So I was in shock. I was in pain. I was like, what's going on?" But once he took it out, we went to do some, kind of get more studies, see what exactly was wrong with my knee. And apparently, one of my ligaments is like holding by a thread. So technically, my knee is just a ticking time bomb, just ready to, you know, get off of my leg. But so far, we've been good. We've been training so that my knee doesn't get compromised, getting all the areas around it strong enough to where I don't have to worry too much about it. But I know that down the line, it's going to be something I'm going to have to get a surgery for, or just take some time off to rehab it.
Wow. That takes some toughness there too. I'll tell you that, knowing that could go, at any minute.
Yep.
Toughness and a little bit of stupidity, so I'll take toughness.
Nate?
What's the craziest match you've ever been in?
So the craziest match that I've been in definitely has to be the El Paso street fight. So for a little context for the El Paso street fight, I was facing a man that was called Clásico or Dancing Money or whatever his other character was called. But basically, it was like our kind of Mick Foley type esque. And we wanted to do something different. Wild and Free. That's the event that was called. And it was me against him, and we wanted to do a cinematic type match because we had seen that other promotions had tried it. Some were good, some were bad. So I kind of wanted to, try it out. The worst thing that could have happened was it would have sucked, and at least I tried it. But I was really happy with how it came out, especially given the fact that we only recorded all of that in 3 days, and just with the very few time that we had, I think we made something special out there. I would definitely be open to doing another El Paso street fight. Maybe not being put through thumbtacks. Maybe I put someone else through thumbtacks, but I would definitely be willing and interested in doing another cinematic type match.
Nice. Is that the one where you guys crashed through the garage door, I believe it was?
So yes, and I just want to clear something in the air, right? I had told management way beforehand that I was gonna hit that garage door, and I was told 3 times that it was okay, that it was fine. And when I hit the garage door and we went to the back, they asked me like, "Hey, why did you hit the garage door? Like, why did you break it?" And I said, in all fairness, I warned you guys that I was gonna hit it. So whoever tells you that I hit it without permission is lying, and I did get permission. I got permission, but I think we thought about different things. But hey, at the end of the day, it made for a good visual. It made for a good story, and I think it's something that a lot of fans still remember to this day.
Well, we heard it from Cesar, and he just said it was a really cool spot. So
yeah, see, and then we're all good,
Go ahead, Tony Khan.
All right. Well, since you stole my question, Mister OnlyFans, what is your opinion on death matches?
I like to think that wrestling is like music. There's a little bit of something for everyone. When someone tells me that they're not a wrestling fan, I just tell them that they haven't really found exactly what they like. I definitely respect that match. Would I do it? I'm not too sure. It's a very interesting question that I've come to ask myself. I've definitely seen like spots that people do, and I'm like, oh, I don't think my body would necessarily like to be in that situation. But I don't judge people who like that type of death match, or if they really like that style and they want to keep doing it forever. That's completely up to them. For me personally, I don't think it's my style, but if people like it, people like it. If there's a market for it, there's a market for it. I think wrestling is a little bit of everything, and death match is part of wrestling, whether we like it or not.
What made you want to become a professional wrestler?
That's an interesting question. I kind of always wanted to do it. I remember me and my brother were watching TV, and we had nothing to do, so we just skipping through channels, and my brother stopped at a wrestling show. It was Raw, and what caught our attention and why we actually left it on was because we saw a little man. The little man ended up being Hornswoggle, but again, our little 9 and 10-year-old minds had never seen a small guy. So when we saw Hornswoggle, that's what captivated us. We're like, oh my god, that's a small guy, and he's moving around, and look at him run. So that's what made us interested in the product. But once we kept watching and we saw other people, we kind of came in right at in time before the Royal Rumble. So I got to see Edge's return and him being a babyface. So I always loved him at the beginning because I was like, oh yeah, he's good. He's a good guy. Come later years to find out that he was a dastardly bad guy, and I was like, oh well, that shows. Oh wow, that's cool. Um, but yeah, ever since I was 9, 10 years old, I was like, this is something I want to do. My parents, of course, trying to wish the best for me and my body. They were like, oh, it's just a phase, you'll move on from it, you'll find another passion. And just nothing ever clicked, just like wrestling. Wrestling was something that always came back to. Whether it was having a good day, bad days, sad days, wrestling was there. Um, it's kind of weird because I kind of associate some memories to like what wrestling event was going on around that time, and that's kind of how I kind of remember stuff in my life. Um, so I always wanted to do that, but trying to be a good son, I was like, okay, I'll find something else to do just in case wrestling just doesn't pan out. Went to university, got my degree, did whatever they wanted to do, but there was still that ache of like, I need to do this. So once I graduated, um, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Florida. I'm gonna go to Flatback, and I'm gonna get trained by professionals who have been at the top level doing this. Um, so that just it was kind of like already written. I kind of already knew that this was gonna happen, but it was something of like a journey of like, oh, maybe not, maybe. But once I was like fully decided, like, yeah, this is gonna happen. Um, it's just we're here and we're gonna keep going until either my spirit breaks or my body breaks.
So, what advice would you give to somebody that wanted to become a pro wrestler?
Uh, I like to think of myself as nobody. I'm not really anyone to give advice. I'm still pretty young. I don't think you would ask a 2-year-old for advice in life. So that's how I see it a little bit in wrestling. But if anyone wants to take my 2 cents, just try to train as much as you can. We have a lot of guys who start wrestling, and because they start wrestling, they're like, oh, I don't need to train anymore. And I think that's a very huge detriment to them because then people who do keep up training, do doing all this hard work, um, they get elevated, and the people who just say, "Oh, I'll train next week," or "I got you tomorrow," or I'll do it. Just give me some time. Time is very limited. We don't have as much time as a lot of people think that we do. So once you get training, man, just keep training. Try to always listen. Um, Try to be humble, man. We're nobodies at the end of the day. I'm a nobody at the end of the day. But if you want to take my 2 cents, train as much as you can, even at home. You can watch matches, you can practice promos, you can do a lot of things at home. So if you're not improving at least every day, even if it's just a little bit, I don't know what you're doing, man.
Good answer.
All right, Tony Khan.
Let's do your top female wrestlers, and it can be 5, 4, however many you want.
Top female wrestlers that are signed, that are not signed, or just overall?
Of all
Just
time.
overall.
Yeah, overall.
Overall, I would say Maki Ito, number one. She's the cutest alive, so she gets number one spot. Um, if we go after her, I would say, even though people dislike her, I think my unpopular opinion is that Charlotte Flair is actually really good. She's probably one of the best women's wrestler that has ever lived. After her, I would probably put Asuka. I think she's amazing. Everything she does in the ring, outside of it, just her character, it's entertaining. Number 4 spot, I would put Kairi Sane, and number 5 spot, I'd put Becky Lynch. I think she has a lot of talent. I think she's very entertaining. Her getting that main event spot in WrestleMania just showed how people are behind her, and I think that's a pretty cool accomplishment.
I like that list.
I take it it's my turn.
Yes.
Yes, and there's a black and white cuddly panda bear behind you, sir.
I swear to God, I'm going to sue you. Anyway, sir. Let me see. Top 5 indie female wrestlers today.
Top 5 indie wrestlers to date. I would say the number 1 has to go to Aisha. She's a Australian indie wrestler. Currently, I think she's had a couple matches now in Impact. Impact's right now in Australia, and she's been put in some of those shows. Definitely, Aisha is the first class, so definitely I would put her at number 1. Number 2 is a wrestler in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, Valentina Rossi. Very good. Has had some AEW dark matches, but very, very good wrestler. Very entertaining. Quite honestly, after those 2, I don't really see anyone that's caught my attention, quite really. Most of them are pretty average, to be completely honest. Most of them are putting matches that I can do in my sleep. So really getting that attention, I don't really see a lot that I'm impressed with. But those 2 I would put on the top. Definitely are worthy of people to check out. Brooke Havoc,
Okay.
now that I'm thinking about it, she's actually pretty good as well. That man, I think those 3 women's wrestler in the scene are for sure wrestlers that everyone should keep an eye on.
So, top 5 indie tag teams, and feel free to put your team on there.
Oh, okay. Well, number 1, of course, the Inglourious Bastards. No one's at our level. We're the best tag team. If anyone wants to disprove that theory, you guys are more than welcome to try to challenge us. Hell, we'll even go to you.
How about if my guys come to you?
And we'll be waiting for you guys. I don't mind for the challenge. I enjoy challenges. But for sure, the Inglourious Bastards at number 1. At number 2, I'd probably put Lights Camera Faction. It's definitely a tag team that I've kept a close eye on. I would definitely like someday for Lights Camera Faction and the Bastards to get on it in the ring. I think that would be a interesting match. I think it would be a money match. So I think that would be a very good match. And number 3 spot is a tag team in Florida as well. They're called Better Together. If you guys have never seen them or heard of them, I recommend watching them. They're a great tag team. I think myself and Iden probably have a really good match with them. They're very entertaining. They're a very well kept secret in Florida. Better Together is a tag team that people should look at. And again, man, I'm just trying to think about people who would maybe give the Bastards a little challenge as far as tag team wrestling goes for the independents, but I can't really say that there are tag teams that I am interested in. But you know what? I'll throw a bit of El Paso love in there. I would say Cobarde and Dragon as a tag team are very good. They had a Ring of Honor match against the Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. Very good match indeed. So I put Cobarde and Dragon as a good tag team for people to see if they're wondering what they're capable of. I guess a number 5 spot, if I'm trying to be nice, is I'll go with man, go with the Fat and Furious, Chubby Depp and Ricky Reyes. I dislike both of them, but I respect them in the ring. I definitely know that they're hard hitting guys, and that the tag team they're quite hard to beat. So those are my tag teams.
Very nice.
Tony.
I believe my turn again. I thought it was Nathan's, but okay.
Yours.
All right. Let's do Good God. Okay. What is your favorite snack or cookie?
My favorite snack or cookie? Uh, Not really much of a snack or cookie guy, but if I had to choose, cookies, I'd probably go. If you go generic, I'd probably say Oreos. I think you can never go wrong with Oreos. But there's another type of cookie. They're called Lenny and Larry's. The cookie or the complete cookie, if I'm not mistaken. They're pretty good. 16 grams of protein. So if you want cookies and you want to get your protein in, definitely recommend that cookie.
Very nice.
My turn.
Yep.
About time Tony Khan's done. Anyways.
Watch out, Panda!
For that, you could tell him the story. So, my question to you, sir, face or heel?
Heel.
We got to team up. Not face each other. We should take over the USA. Just throwing it out there. I have some big money talent in my group. We should talk.
Maybe. We'll see.
So go ahead, Nate.
Oh, that was your question?
Yeah.
That was more of a statement than a question. Jeez.
Oh my
If you had
God. You should focus
you
on
had
driving and not talking.
If you
Are
had
you
a
sure you
dream
don't want to make an
opponent-
announcement to make an announcement to make an announcement?
Okay. If you had a dream opponent from any generation, who would it be and why?
Oh man. I think my biggest dream opponent right now would probably be Speedball Mike Bailey. He's a black belt in Taekwondo. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. And I think there's only room for one top black belt in Taekwondo. So I would definitely be interested to see what me and Speedball can do together.
Very nice.
Tony Khan.
Tony, you're up.
I'm gonna defer to the panda hating Big Money Dodge.
You're welcome. I guess that means it's my turn again.
Yep.
So, if you could sign with any of the top 5 professional wrestling, WWE, AEW, New Japan, ROH, or Impact, which one would it be, and who would your very first match be up against?
So that's an interesting question. There's definitely a lot of things that I want to do in each company. but I think just because of the dream match that I want, Impact just seems like the right go to right now. Not only do I think Impact right now is currently underrated, just because of all the good wrestling that AEW and WWE has right now. But if we really look at Impact, they have a really good roster. They have really good storylines. They've been consistent. I definitely like to think that if I got the opportunity and me and Speedball got a good program in Impact, definitely see us catching some eyeballs to Impact and maybe making it a little bit more relevant. That would be like my go-to promotion to be signed with. The second one will probably be New Japan. Just because there's a lot more things that I want to accomplish in that promotion than in AEW, than in Ring of Honor, than in WWE. But obviously, I am open to being able to wrestle anywhere. But I think just realistically, as far as the goals that I want to do, the matches I want to have, Impact and Japan seem like the best options.
Sounds good.
I can see both. So, if you could build one WrestleMania card, let's say like 6 matches, who would be in it from any generation?
Jesus. WrestleMania card, just 6 matches. That's a good question. I think if I could do it in a perfect world, my main event would be Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels. I think that match we were robbed of. It's been a great match. I think it's just a wishful thinking for a lot of fans, but I think those two greats go at it. I think it would be just perfect. I would have John Cena versus Kurt Angle and have them both retire. I refuse to admit that Corbin the retirement of Angle, but in reality, it's sad. But I think John Cena versus Kurt Angle would be a good match as well. I'd like to put. Like to put Stone Cold versus Punk. I think that's still an interesting match. Just the two of them have a lot of similarities in some ways. So I think that would be a good match to put in there. Just because I like both of these teams, Edge and Christian versus FTR. It's still possible, maybe. I think that's going to be left out a match that a lot of people might think of or might not think of. But I think that's a match that's interesting for sure. Matches. I would. I think that if you put Chris Jericho against maybe Nakamura, I think Chris Jericho versus Nakamura versus Shinsuke Nakamura would be a match to see. Especially we have like Prime Jericho, the one that could move a little bit faster in the ring. Prime Shinsuke from New Japan. I think that would be an interesting match to see. I think their styles would have meshed really well. And the last match kind of seems fitting to put Undertaker in there, just because WrestleMania are so correlated with each other. But I would like to see Undertaker versus AJ Styles actual wrestling match, not a cinematic match. Although that was great, but I think that Undertaker versus Styles could have been something like matches he had with Shawn. So it's something that I like to think about every now and then, how it would have been if it was a wrestling match.
It's a very good point about AJ and the Undertaker.
Yep. Tony Khan.
Okay, so when your wrestling career is all said and done, what mark would you like to leave on the professional wrestling world?
That's a pretty simple. Again, I say it every time. I don't really mind or care if I sound arrogant or cocky or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I want Eddie Guerrero's career, but bigger and better. I think for far too long in El Paso, Eddie has been our standpoint. And think about it, that only Eddie's like greatest El Paso wrestler that ever came out of our city. It's kind of insulting in a way that it's been so long and nobody has stepped up to be able to be in that conversation as well with Eddie. So I like to think that when everything's said and done, I'll be in that same conversation. Um, I'd like for people to be like, oh, he's the greatest El Paso wrestler. Someone say Eddie Guerrero, but someone say, hey, you know what? Eddie's good, but Marty Snow was at a whole different.
Ah, now that's a goal.
Yes, sir. Let me see. I'll have to pass. Nate, go for it right now.
So if you had a dream tag team partner from any generation, who would it be and why?
I think for many generation, again, all my answers kind of correlate with one another. I would love to tag team with Edge. Again, to me, he's childhood hero. So I definitely would like to learn from him, kind of pick his brain, try to see what could be done, what couldn't be done. Just seeing how he thinks about matches and how they should be structured, or how he plans tag team matches and what to do, what not to do, what to focus on. But I just think that would be the partner that I would want the most, just because it would be a dream come true. Unfortunately, I kind of know that I'm surely not going to make it in time. I know that he's already thinking of retirement, or is about to go to retirement again. So I'll miss that one out. But definitely, it's a dream, man. I would have loved to tag team with Edge.
All right, Tony, you're up.
Okay, so where can we find? When is your next match, and where can we find you on social media, sir?
Oh, Jesus. Again, I have horrible memory. But if I'm not mistaken, this weekend, uh, July 8th, I will be wrestling in Arizona Federation, AWF. For those who are in the Tucson area, if you guys want to come down, join me, see me kick someone's head in, you're welcome to. All my social media handles, for the most part, are not Marty Snow. Instagram, Twitter, my little YouTube page where I promos, matches as well. So that you can find me at. You can also see me most of the time at Pro Wrestling Legacy or at Delgado Promotions. So go ahead and give them a follow if you're in the El Paso area and would like to start your dream of becoming a pro wrestler. I would definitely recommend checking out Wrestling Legacy. The things that place offers just are things that you're not going to find anywhere else. Um, so definitely, if you're interested in becoming a pro wrestler or want to try it out, pro wrestling is the place to be, man.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, Dodge. Ask your final question.
Oh, you should have. So, what's your goal in professional wrestling, my friend?
So again, my goal is pretty simple. Well, it's not simple, but I always have the simple answer. Um, strive for a career like Eddie Guerrero's, but bigger and better. I want to be able to be a Grand Slam champion in New Japan. Be able to go to AEW as well, wrestle there. Uh, just try to do as much as possible to be in that conversation of Marty Snow was one of the greatest wrestlers alive, specifically in El Paso. Again, I think that Eddie Guerrero is great. No doubt about it. You can always make a claim for him to be the best professional wrestler ever. But I like to see that it's time for me to take that flag and be the best professional wrestler.
And then my last question is, how did your finisher come to be?
Can you repeat that again? You kind of cut off.
Yeah, how did your finisher come to be?
My finisher. So for the most part, I like to think of finishers that I can hit on anyone. And it just so happened that the Rainmaker is a simple move that I can catch you at any time. I also have the kicks that I do. They're easy to connect with you. And they're just simple. I can hit them on anyone. I don't really have to struggle with lifting you up or making sure that I can move my body the way that it has to. I just have to make sure that I can hit you and hit you hard. So that's how my finishers came to be.
Got ya.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to finish the show with announcement time. First off, Nathan, I know before you ask your question, it's been not only a dream for Nathan to have this podcast, but now I can officially say that Mr. Nathan Noss, along with some help, will be having his very own wrestling promotion, Inclusion Pro Wrestling. Yes, Inclusion Pro Wrestling, being debuted in 2024.
Yep.
Next announcement. Oh, go ahead, Nate.
And we're gonna, as he said, we're gonna do a show next year in 2024, and it would be awesome to have you come down and wrestle in Washington for us if you're interested.
Yeah,
It'll be a benefit show for the Special Olympics. So
nice.
So I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, would be interested in that.
Okay, and then the next announcement is, as much as I pitch my other co-host, shit, he is going to be in Inclusion Pro Wrestling's home. He's going to be starting the Big Money Compound. It's a wrestling training facility in Pullman, Washington. First classes are starting in probably 2 weeks.
God,
$25 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. $25 a session. $150 a month. And his first trainer is a man who's been in the business 20 plus years, who has wrestled and defeated the Hall of Fame Rey Mysterio Jr., Mr. SoCal Crazy. And now for the final two sponsors, Mr. Nathan Noss, will you please take it away?
Yep. Our other two sponsors are the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. And to reach the lady that's in charge of that is you can get a hold of Becky Bernhardt. And then Bruce Nichols Painting for all your painting, pressure washing, and lead removal needs. And you can find him on Angie. So with that, we want to thank Marty for being on tonight. Thank you very much, sir.
Of course. Thank you for the invite.
And you're welcome back anytime. And then we will see you guys tomorrow.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.
Good night.